three. Going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no! Son of a bitch.
You get your two?
Yeah. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we're going to take a look at two battles. The first is in my Amagi, and take a look at the battleships that I'm facing off against. So we have some Tier 8 battleships versus two Tier 5, a Tier 6, and a Tier 8 battleship. So interesting matchmaking is what I was thinking on this one. So two brothers, standard map anyway. Since it's been a while for some time. Anyway, I spawn over here on the east side, so I do figure that I'm probably going to go up the east side, or at least try and fend, provide some sort of defense, maybe a little offense there on the east side as well. I figured that most of my team would go towards the west. And that on the east we'd probably be playing a defensive game. I was really hoping the destroyer in front of me would go in and cap the east point, which in fact the destroyer does, so fantastic. But I just, two brothers, I usually just assume that everyone is going to go on the west. Seems to be the favorable side. I do actually, though, end up getting some backup here, which is quite nice. So there's myself in the battleship. You can see we have an Oba coming along with us. We have another destroyer coming along with us, and we have another battleship, a Tirpitz, coming along with us. So this is going to be a pretty good defense, and the rest of the team, as predicted, is going to go over there to the west. Now, there's nothing wrong on Two Brothers with, most of the team going over to the west, because that's the preferred side to fight on. Nothing wrong with that at all, as long as it's not the entire team, and as long as there's adequate support for those who decide to remain and play the defense. This is very, very critical. And in this battle, the defense is, it goes quite well. Now, a large portion of that is due to myself here in this battle, not, to toot my own horn or sound conceited or anything, but it was. And most of the shots are just lucky shots, so there's not really that much skill involved, other than making sure my ship was in position to take the shots, of course. Anyway, we have an enemy Tirpitz off in the distance, so I decide, what the hell, I'm going to fire off my guns, cascade them in because he's coming straight on me, and we'll see if any of these shots hit. If they do, fantastic. If not, it doesn't matter. And I do get 2 hits, but that doesn't do significant amount of damage, so whatever. I've got cover off to my port side, so this is great. I'm going to be able to use this for a little while anyway, because I'm not going to slow down at all. I want to keep going, get myself into a better position, but I'm going to keep firing at the Tirpitz as the Tirpitz comes towards me anyway. The ultimate position that I want to get to is going to be right about where I am now, maybe a little closer. The reason for this, and it is fairly open that I'm in this area, but the reason why I want to get to this area is because the Amagi's range isn't so great. I do not use the scout plane. I know you can see the scout plane on the ship, but I can't put a fighter on it. That's the only reason why it's there. I hate the scout plane view. I just can't stand it. So I don't use a scout plane at all. I base my strategy off of the stock range on the ship now, for better or for worse. I never claimed to be a good battleship driver, but a good battleship captain, but whatever. I continue my shots going in here on the Tirpitz, and we are doing a bit of damage with some of these shots that land. It's adding up, 4,000 here, 4,000 there, so not too bad at all, but we do start to see some more enemy ships, and it does actually look as though the enemies have gone fairly heavy on this east side, which is another important reason to make sure on Two Brothers, if everyone, if the majority of the team decides to go to the west, you need to ensure, I said it earlier, that you have adequate protection on the east, because if the enemies do decide to all go on the east side, you don't have adequate defense, it is quickly going to turn into a shit show. So, need to keep this in mind, and another good point to make sure that you have that protection. So anyway, we got a pretty nice salvo on the Tirpitz, about 9,100 damage, I believe is what that accrued to, so that wasn't too bad at all. But the Tirpitz is behind cover, and you can see the Tirpitz is going down anyway, so my team will finish off the Tirpitz. I'm going to focus over on this Amagi. The Amagi is giving me a nice broadside, and I thought, what better shot do I have now? As long as I can aim it properly, I should be able to get some pretty significant hits on this Mogami. At least, that was my thought. So shots go in, I do about 9,100 damage, so there's nothing really to complain about with that amount of damage, but it would have been nice to get a Citadel, wouldn't it? I would have liked to get a citadel, but whatever. You can see now I basically reached the limit as to how close I wanted to get to the enemies, and I'm circling back in on myself. Now it does suck that the enemies have taken the point, but I'm not going to let this deter me too much. So we have a York. I put a few shots out into the York again. Another cruiser giving me a broadside, so I'm going to take advantage of this and put some shots into this York. So a few shots land, do a bit of damage, but nothing substantial. You can see that most of those shots landed too high to really mount to anything substantial, but whatever, I'm turning in anyway. I see a Cleveland who's also giving me a broadside now and think, well, this looks pretty juicy, so we'll see what I can do about this. The Cleveland's a little closer than the York was, so yeah, whatever, I'm going to shoot at the Cleveland here, even though the York is also giving me a broadside, as well as, I think it's a Molotov over there as well, that's giving me a nice broadside, but whatever. Shots go into the Cleveland and do a bit more damage. So about 9,000 damage on that salvo as well. Again, though, I'm surprised I didn't get a citadel, but still, no complaints over the damage roll on that one. Pretty happy with it. So I'm now going to try and push a little closer in, because you can see the majority of the enemies have actually, they're all over here off to my starboard side, right, kind of in the corner here. So this is a good opportunity for me to get in here, hopefully with some allies, and start capping this point a little more. We see a poor Congo off in the distance. Note that the Congo is in the stock hull. So this is one of the Congos who had the unfortunate luck of being added to this match, along with his fellow division mates, and another Congo and a New Mexico. So my shots are about to go in. Yeah. Unfortunate. So about 18,000 damage in that salvo with 2 citadel hits on the Congo. So that's not too bad at all. You can see immediately the Congo's turning away. He wants nothing to do with what I'm offering up today. I'm getting closer and pushing into the cap now as well. I do see the destroyer off to the port side, very, very close, but I wanted to keep my cool in this situation. So you can see I'm eagerly, kind of lining up shots here on the Mogami. I have off in the distance, but I am turning into the destroyer. If you look on the mini-map, turning into the destroyer. Now there is an island right here in front of me, so I need to keep this in mind. I really didn't want to ground myself, so I'm slowing my speed down and I'm trying to turn away from the island so I don't actually ground myself here. Very surprised that the destroyer did not launch torpedoes at me, but it turns out that the destroyer is on reload with the torpedo, so I get really lucky in this regard, because it would have been very easy for the destroyer here to take me out. I believe it's a Mitsuki, a tier 6 Japanese destroyer, not 100% sure, because obviously I can't see the name fully, as I'm sure most of you are aware. Anyway, the Mitsuki's making a run for a southern cap, so I got to do something about this. Not an ideal situation here, though, where I am in a battleship, but if we do take another look at the minimap, we can see that all of my ally ships who are over there in the west have now managed to take the northern cap, and they're actually capping that point right now, so this is fantastic. As well, keeping our eyes on the mini-map, we see that the majority of the enemy ships are still all grouped up over in that corner to the northeast, so fantastic. We've got some shots going out to the Mitsuki. We can see torpedoes incoming now. I haven't taken very much damage so far this battle, so if I take one torpedo, that's not too bad at all. And I do manage to finish off the Mitsuki, so fantastic. Take one torpedo, do a bit of damage, but instantly I'm able to repair this damage and start healing myself, so no big deal there. Alright, taking a look around at some of the enemy ships that are now, well, at the majority of the enemy ships who are now balled up in this northeast corner. We're going to try and start picking these guys off. Keep in mind, of course, that I do have allied ships to the north, right? So the enemy ships are going to be scrambling around. Do they want to engage us to the south? Do they want to go to the north? What do they value most? And this is going to work out well for my team, because again, it allows us, good opportunities to start picking off enemies who are giving us nice broadsides, much like the Congo that I have shots on the way out for. This Congo isn't going to be as unlucky as his division mate, but still I do a significant amount of damage there, about 5,400 damage I believe, so that's not too bad at all. So we're going to continue our maneuvers here. Now you can see with the enemies based on the minimap here, it does look like a significant number of enemies have decided to go back towards the north, so I'm going to start go back towards the north point. So I'm going to start kind of sailing in a northerly direction to close the distance with some of these enemies, but also so that we can continue to crowd them in. So there's the York that I had fired on earlier in the battle. We do see the York once again. Again, the York is giving me a nice broadside, so I have some shots going out for the York. We'll wait and see if anything happens on those. No, basically just some over penetrations, right? And did 2,020 damage, something around that, so that was kind of disappointing, but whatever. I'm just keep to my strategy. I'm going to sail forward, close the distance with the enemies, and continue to put more pressure on these guys so that I can get in here and do some significant damage and help the team take down the enemy ships. So once again, we do have an enemy battleship off in the distance. Looks like the enemy battleship is giving me a nice broadside. That's the same Congo that I did about 5,400 damage to in the last salvo that I put out onto him. So I get another nice salvo out, but you can see I didn't really lead the target that much, and yeah, the shots hit and they again do a bit of damage, but I think I could have been a whole lot better if I would have just led the target a little more than I did. But whatever. We still do have the York off in the distance. The York decided to turn back, and I was pretty surprised to see that move, frankly. I'm still sort of focused on the Congo at this point in time, but I am keeping the York in mind, as well as the cruiser who just got unspotted there, who looks like it grounded himself, so we're going to keep this guy in mind. Alright, so we have some enemies over here to the port side, and it looks like they are giving my Tirpitz one hell of a run for his money. There's a nice Citadel hit and a Confederate medal. Now that would have been on the Mogami that I launched salvo off at before I in turn started engaging these guys. So here we go, we have a Cleveland. We can see the Cleveland's on really low health, and I didn't even want to waste one gun on this Cleveland, but to the same token, I didn't necessarily want the Cleveland to light me on fire. Didn't have to worry about it though. My allies were all over it. Took out the Cleveland. I've got some shots going out for the New Mexico here. You can see the New Mexico did take a number of torpedoes and is now gone. Fantastic. So we're going to do a 360 and get ourselves to the north once again. We're going to go back to the north. You can see at this point in time, my team has managed to hold, at least at one point in time, all 4 cap zones. We did just lose a northern cap zone there to the enemies, but doesn't really matter, right? We still have three of the 4 cap zones, and on top of that, even if we were to lose one at this point in time, I'm pretty sure we'd be okay in terms of overall points, considering a fact as well that we're going to be killing more enemy ships. So the York, once again, giving me a nice broadside. So third time is a charm on this guy. So my shots go out, and I cross my fingers this time. I was like, come on, I hope that I get this guy. Give me at least one Citadel here on him. Yeah. Not a bad shot at all. So we get a double Citadel. We do well over 20,000 damage to the York there. Earned myself a high caliber and a devastating strike in the salvo, so that's not too shabby at all. You can see my team in terms of points, we're at about 992 now, so we are very close to victory. There's the Mogami that I scored the Citadel on a while ago. We can see some enemy ships sort of dueling out with some of my ships there. All is for naught though, because the battle is over and we have won. Fantastic. So taking a look at the overall results here, once they pop up, 151,000 damage done in this battle, not too shabby at all. Confederate, high caliber, devastating strike, 256,000 credits, 3,900 experience, 5 Citadels, and I think it was 2 kills, yes. Top of the team overall, so that's not too bad at all. And then, there was just the damage breakdown here. 28,000 damage is what I did to that York, and 33,000 damage did to the Congo, so that was pretty decent. And you can see I do end up walking away with about 176,000 credits, and of course more experience as well, so that's fantastic. I was pretty surprised with the overall results of that battle. It doesn't happen very often, but again, the importance of making sure you have adequate defense for whatever side you decide not to push onto, brothers. Alright, so moving on to the next clip, you can see that I am in my Hipper and we are on Tears of the Desert. Now, this is the last battle I played before I bought my Hindenburg. Yes, I do now have the Hindenburg. I'm very excited. I haven't actually sailed her out yet because I bought her and had 46,000 credits remaining. So obviously I need to play a few battles, earn a bit of money here to make sure that I can get commanders trained over, as well as all of the modules bought in for the Hindenburg. Now before all the modules get bought in for the Hindenburg, I most likely am going to be taking her out, but right now I've just been sort of admiring her in my port, but very excited to have the Hipper. The next ship I'm going to go for is most likely my Russian Tier 7 cruiser. I really need to get up that Russian cruiser line, frankly. I've been putting it off for so long though because I wanted that Hipper real bad. But anyway, or wanted the Hindenburg real bad, sorry. Anyway, on Tears of the Desert in the Hipper, and you can see that I am going to go down to the south into the A point. Now, wanted to show off the battle, not only because, the last battle before I buy the Hindenburg and whatnot, but it also was a pretty good cruiser battle, and I wanted to talk a little bit about cruisers here. This is a risky maneuver for a cruiser to do, what I am doing right now. And what it is leading the charge, basically. You can see that I don't have any destroyers, oddly, down here to rush in and take the A point ahead of me. It's basically going to be me who gets into the A point first, which means that it's going to be my cruiser who most likely is going to be the first enemy ship spotted down, or first ship spotted by the enemy team down here. So we need to keep these things in mind. And then why is it dangerous, for a cruiser to be the first ship spotted? Simple. The cruiser does not have the armor to, be able to sustain multiple hits from a number of different enemy ships, because that that's what's going to happen at this beginning stage here. You're going to get spotted by a destroyer or some planes or maybe another cruiser, but what is going to end up killing you are the battleships in the background that you do not see. So very important that you keep this in mind. Now, I do have this in mind, and I'm trying to use as much cover as I possibly can while attempting to get into this A point and cap it. In this situation, at least at the time when I was playing this battle, I just thought that there's no destroyers down here. I'm gonna be the first one in. I gotta get in here, cap this point, and get out. It's not enough just to be near the point and provide support to the point. At least I didn't think it would be in this situation. Right now and then. I wanted to get in here and cap it. I do have a landmass directly in front of me, right, that I can use as cover if need be. Now, when a toggle pops up, so I am going to be using this landmass as cover. So what I need to do is I just simply need to steer my ship straight towards the landmass and close the distance with this landmass as much as I possibly can. Get a nice little hit there on the Thotgor, so that was a nice little surprise. But again, need to get behind this cover because even though the Thotgor right now has spotted me, there are other ships shooting at me, and we know that there are other ships shooting at me because of the amount of shells that are coming in. Right here we go, there's the Izumo. So excellent example of the battleship in the background that you don't know is there. If you don't assume that it's there and take steps against it being there, it is going to kill you. So you really need to keep this in mind. So I'm getting a little closer to the landmass here, so you can see I do turn, and I do end up turning a little risky, because again, you don't want to expose any broadsides. I do have some enemy ships off to the port side. We can see some enemy destroyers. My team has taken the B cap zone, and we are in the process of capping A, so things are looking decent right now. We have some torpedoes coming in from an enemy torpedo squadron, so this kind of sucks, but luckily, my AA and the destroyer's AA, because the destroyer had his AA on, it was able to disrupt the aim of the torpedo bomber pilots a little, so that it does look like these torpedoes are going to miss. Now we have a Rune off in the distance as well, so need to keep the Rune in mind. That is an incredibly dangerous ship, as we all know, so I want to keep this ship in mind. And you can see now that the point is capped, there's no more reason for me to actually be in this point. I can start easing back, circle back, well, obviously let the torpedo run out because I don't want to hit the torpedo, but circle back behind my battleships and then push up with my battleships once again. So that's going to be my pretty much my main strategy, main goal at this point in time in this battle. And it has worked out pretty well for me. Even the landmass that I was using, right, that we can see it right there, it's questionable as to how good of a piece of cover that thing is, but just by using it and, sailing my ship in a straight line and being aware of enemy ships in the background that I do not see, specifically battleships, and, I was properly positioned to be able to weather the incoming storm of shells from those enemy battleships and enemy ships, to the point where you can see that the amount of damage that I've taken right now really is not very significant at all. So we need to weave in between these battleships. I was actually quite concerned that I was going to sail in front of the Iowa as the Iowa was firing, but luckily that did not happen. So weave in between the battleships, because obviously I don't want to disrupt my battleships, and it's good to see that I have such heavy support down here at A. Again, questionable, because if you take a look at the mini-map, you can see that I do have some ships up there at C. We have one ship at B, and the majority of our ships are down here at A, so it's questionable as to whether or not we should even be down here at A, but we are, and it's nice to see that we have some heavy support with us here. So at this point in time, we need to start focusing and thinking on pushing forward, right? Look at the enemies we have off in the distance. These guys are far away. They are, off in the distance, way back there. There's no reason for me or anyone on my team, except maybe our aircraft carrier with his planes, and maybe some destroyers to chase down these guys, right? No need at all. My big concern right now is, where are they going? What point are these guys going to? And I assume that they're going to be heading over to B. If we do take a look at them, they're sailing away from A, yes, and I know it doesn't take a whole lot for them to turn around and start coming back towards A, but I'm going to get myself into a position where I can better defend B, because I was thinking that B was, where they're going. They have A, they have C. It would make sense that they would want that B point, right? So I'm going to start sailing over to the B point. Now, I'm looking at the allies that I had with me down here at A, and I'm thinking to myself, these Iowas, come on Iowas, don't chase those guys down. I mean, at least start make a turn towards the north. And I was considering whether or not I should type this in chat. I didn't want to be that guy, and I didn't want to start getting accused of telling people what to do and all that, so I don't type anything. But if we do look at the minimap, we can see at least one of the Iowas is making some slight maneuvers towards the north, and the other Iowa, because I believe, no, those guys aren't divisioned up, but they're working in tandem for this battle at least. But it does kind of look like they are going to make their way to the north. So all right, this is good. Taking a look around, we can see that, yeah, they did come to the B point. We're losing to the B point right now. We can see a lot more enemy ships start popping up, specifically a number of destroyers, right? This was a destroyer-heavy battle with 4 enemy destroyers on the enemy team versus our 5. So we have an Thotgor coming in. We did see the other destroyer as well. I'm going to start focusing on this Thotgor, though. I know that, I'm a cruiser and primary mission is going to be destroyers, but the Thotgor was just such an inviting target. I just wanted to go for it. Plus, I did have some destroyers, friendly destroyers in the point who I assumed and hoped would engage the enemy destroyers. No real excuse for, my decision not to fire the destroyers right away, but yeah, that was just some of my rationale at the time. Anyway, my destroyers take out the enemy Thotgor quickly, and that's fantastic. So we have an enemy Hipper coming into the point, and this is, you can see exactly what's going on here, what I had mentioned at the beginning of the battle. Cruisers taking the charge. Now granted, this is later in the battle, but still, you can see this Hipper is leading the charge for his enemy ships. He has 2 enemy battleships behind him, right? So basically leading the charge for them into the cap. Suddenly all of my allied ships start focusing on the Hipper, and it's not going so well for the Hipper at this point in time. Yeah, he does have a bit of health remaining, but you can see the amount of shots going in, specifically my shots and my teammates' shots, right? This guy he's going to go down. And it really does speak to the whole, if you are going to lead the charge in a cruiser, you need to keep in mind, the ships that you don't see and assume that they see you and, angle against them if at all possible. At the very least, don't do what this guy's doing. We're just sailing in a straight line across the point. Maybe this was a desperate move to contest the points and to continue the cap on the point. I'm not 100% sure, but you can see where it does get the player. Anyway, we do have some final shots going into the Hipper here, but we do still have a number of destroyers who are in this B point to deal with as well, right? We know that they're here. We've seen them. In fact, we see another one as well. I believe it's a Fubuki and a Kagero, maybe, who are contesting these points. Not 100% sure, if memory serves me anyway, which it usually doesn't, but if it does, that's what we have in the point. So final shots are on their way for the Hipper here. Hopefully those shots that I've just put out to the Hipper are going to take them down, and they do fantastic. So we do need to start considering the destroyer. So I'm instantly going to start loading up high explosive, right? I'm not going to fool around here with my armor piercing and try to get armor piercing shots on the destroyers while still getting armor piercing shots on cruisers and battleships. No. We're going to switch over to our high explosive, and I'm going to start putting shots into the enemy destroyers as I see them. So that enemy destroyer did pop out of view, but no big deal. I'm going to start sailing towards, basically a straight line towards this destroyer, and keep firing. Another enemy destroyer pops up, so we can see him over here, so we are going to start engaging that destroyer as well. I do have my acoustic sonar ability popped at this point in time, for obvious reasons, right? In case the enemy destroyers decide to launch torpedoes at me or some of my allies within the range of my acoustic sonar, everyone will be aware of where the torpedoes are, and hopefully this will allow adequate time to take evasive maneuvers. You can see that my Tirpitz over there did just take some torpedoes, which was unfortunate, and unfortunately he did not have enough time for evasive maneuvers. Anyway, shots are going into this enemy destroyer here. Hopefully we can just land a few more shots on the destroyer. There we go, fantastic. One of my allies manages to finish it off, so excellent. We have one more destroyer here to focus on. You can see that the the second destroyer who is remaining at this point in time is way off to the northwest of the map, so we don't need to concern ourselves with this player at this time. Torpedoes are on the way in for my friendly Tirpitz, and I was really thinking that was going to kill my Tirpitz, but it didn't. My Tirpitz is still hanging on, so I've got shots going into the destroyer, and we're doing some bit of damage here. You can see that the Tirpitz did launch off torpedoes as well. Maybe those torpedoes are going to hit the enemy destroyer. Maybe not. We do have some enemy aircraft coming in. You can see they were torpedo bombers, and I am going to eat both of those torpedoes. So a little unfortunate, but luckily I was playing smart from the beginning, and I had the hit points to be able to absorb that amount of damage, leaving me in the battle to remain and contribute. So we have a few more shots going into the enemy destroyer. You can see that my friendly Tirpitz is now finally gone. That sucks. I have an enemy Colorado over here that I'm going to need to start engaging, so I queue up my armor piercing, and we're going to get rid of the high explosive that's in the barrels. While all of this was going on, the enemy capture of B was successful, so we need to take back this point. We do lead the enemies in terms of overall points, but we really do need to take that back this point if we want to have any sort of advantage, I guess, overall, because even though we do have the point advantage as well, you can see that their ships are damaged, my allied ships are damaged as well, right? It's still anyone's game at this point in time. Someone could easily rack up a few kills and quickly close the distance on points that we have going on here. So I'm dueling it out with the Colorado, and it wasn't so great. Looking back anyway, I didn't do much angling against the Colorado, but whatever. The Colorado's gone, can't fire at me anymore. I do have another enemy destroyer here. This is the last enemy destroyer that I said we didn't have to worry about because it was so far away. Turns out that enemy destroyer decided to make his presence known and come in here and provide some sort of threat to us. Luckily my allies are all over this, and the enemy destroyer goes down, so we start capping the B point, because I do have my destroyers in the B point capping it now, so this is fantastic. I'll set sail towards B once again, get in here, help them cap the point, and continue to take down some enemy ships, which ideally is what we want to do here. I did finally remember to download Aslan's for this replay. You can see that I've registered about 40,000 damage so far, so that's not too bad in a hipper, but the hipper is definitely capable of a whole lot more damage. So I still have about half health remaining, so there definitely is a situation here that I could get myself into, rack up a bit more damage, and hopefully, sail away from it with a decent amount of hit points remaining. We can see a lot of enemy ships off in this channel over here, and you can see that my friendly destroyer is taking advantage of this, launching torpedoes off of these enemy ships, which is fantastic. So I'm going to try and protect my enemy destroyer in that channel as best I can. I see the Izumo off in the distance, but that Izumo is way out there, at least beyond my range, so I'm not going to concern myself with it too much. My friendly destroyer did manage to take away, actually not out of my range, well, whatever, but my friendly destroyer did manage to take out one of those enemy Iowas, or one of those enemy battleships, so fantastic. So we have an enemy Iowa here coming around this landmass. I was very, very concerned at all, thinking this is the end. Take a look at the Iowa's turrets, yeah. Front two are gone. The one in the back isn't even looking at me, so this is fantastic. So this is opening up an excellent opportunity for me to get some nice shots into this Iowa before those torpedoes hit, and maybe even end up finishing off the Iowa. Not today, but whatever. Iowa's gone, got a bit more damage, and another teammate got him or herself another kill, so fantastic. Not too bad at all. We have 3 enemy ships remaining. We do have 1 enemy aircraft carrier, a cruiser, and the Izumo, so we can see some torpedo bombers on the way in. The points right now is about 976, so we are very close to victory. As long as I don't die here, I am not going to take out the Izumo, and I'm not going to try and brawl it out with the Izumo. All I want to do is survive, right? 992 points remaining, maybe get a few shots off the Izumo. You can see the Izumo isn't really even focused on me. He's got other problems, and battle is over. So fantastic. Not too bad at all, and we will take a look at final results here. So 1 kill, 2 citadels, did about 61,000 damage, so that's not too bad at all. Walk away with 236,000 credits, which for me meant that I could purchase my Hindenburg, so fantastic. And hopefully for you guys as well, this at least gave you a few more tips when you're in your cruisers, this specific clip anyway. You can see how the damage was dispersed in and amongst some of the some of the enemies, and then as well just the amount of credits that I do end up walking away with, and the experience, which is always great to have. So anyway, that is the end of today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you were not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.